Welcome to Worlds Collide, a wrestling card podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans, featuring Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com.
This is like a stock market.
And Zhan Morning from Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, I'm just posing the question. Join them as they navigate the world of wrestling cards, helping you build a bigger and better collection and making some money along the way. What's up, wrestling fans and trading card collectors? Worlds Collide, back again. It's another week, and we're still here. Still going down the road, barely.
Barely. Yeah, barely. I mean, by the time we're recording this, we're in the new year. I'm recording this. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I didn't think, I had no idea we'd be still doing this, to be honest with you. So, but here we are, and still enjoying it. So I guess that's something, right?
Yeah, still having fun. We're going to do some interesting discussions today. And, talking about starting off the new year, we're what, not even a week into the new year, and we've already got like all kinds of breaking news that is going to tie into our discussion today, and that is wrestling cards versus sports cards. It's something that I think has kind of been a debate between different communities. Myself, I've constantly been pushing the agenda of why are wrestling cards not at the level of sports cards. So let's just start things off with comparing and contrasting the classic, as they like to call it, stick and ball sports compared to the masters of the squared circle, quote, drama.
Yeah, where do you begin?
I don't know. I mean, let's just look at trading cards, in general. I'll say, hey, I'm into cards, and somebody goes, oh, you collect baseball cards.
That's the first thing, though. I mean, baseball's been around forever and a half. I mean, it's one of the oldest produced, properties out there. I mean, so it's just something that's kind of ingrained in people's minds and the culture of collecting baseball cards. Anytime you mention cards, generally people are going to think baseball cards. It also depends. You're talking younger generation today. Younger generation, like, oh, you mean like Pokemon?
Yeah, that's true.
So
I actually ran into somebody at Walmart today. I was looking for more Heritage blasters because I went and they had 5. I picked up 3. I wanted to be considerate and leave some for someone else. So I left 2 other blasters there. I went back today and I was looking for them again, and sure enough, they were gone. So that means there are other wrestling card fans out there. But while I was looking,
in your neighborhood, no less.
Yes, which is shocking. Trust me. But while I was looking, there's a girl that came up next to me, and she's like, I bet you're looking for the same thing that I'm looking for. And I was like, I doubt it, but what are you looking for? She's like, Pokemon cards. And I'm like, oh, no. I was like, I've passed up this Charizard gift box thing down here a couple times, so I know what you're doing, but that's not what I was looking for. So your point is exactly proven right there.
So I just think, I don't know. And then wrestling cards as a whole, you want to go between comparing the sports to wrestling cards. It just plays into the whole wrestling, the wrestling genre as a whole. It's just something that's looked down upon, I think, still in this day and age. Even when it was in its, it was so popular in the late 90s, during the Attitude Era.
Or during the 80s when trading cards was a boom.
Yeah, but there weren't a whole lot of trading cards to collect when it came to wrestling at that time, but compared to other sports.
I guess I say that because I still, we'll get down to this as we go through this discussion today, but people are out there not afraid to show off their Star Wars cards. They're not afraid to show off their GPK cards, but yet they still don't want to talk about wrestling cards. It's mind-blowing to me.
It is a mind-blowing thing. It's wrestling has a stigma attached to it, that it's just some kind of lower form of entertainment, and it's kind of a joke, or it's something I was into when I was a kid. I don't understand the logic there. I mean, it's still very prevalent because it plays on, what's going on in the world today, mostly, if you look at WWE especially.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a drama show. It's no different than watching Days of Our Lives or Another World, or I'm dating myself with these damn dramas, daytime things. It's no different, man. I mean, and you get people who are like, oh, it's fake. And I'm like, yeah, but so is Game of Thrones, buddy. It ain't real. I mean,
jumping off point there, have you seen what some of the Game of Thrones autograph cards go for?
I mean, I haven't. Nah.
They're huge. And
are they?
Like, so people are willing to spend money on Game of Thrones merchandise. They know it's fake. they still don't like put
Well, I mean,
wrestling,
people. I mean, let's be honest though, because people are still. If there are people buying that, there are people buying wrestling cards.
Of course, yes.
We just want them. To, people are still spending absurd amount of money on cards. Someone spent almost 10 grand on a Vince McMahon,
Of
card,
course.
ungraded card. So those people exist. We just want to see the market be a little bit bigger. As far as like, we're not going to be baseball. We're not going to be basketball. We're not going to be football. We're just not going to be that kind of market. I think it has potential to be that kind of market because I mean wrestling's got more of a global reach than I think that than football would. I think. I don't know.
Again, that's something we'll touch on. I've got down to talk about later. But it's I want if the market expands, I'm not going to sell what I have. So I want to make that clear that I just want them to. I want wrestling to be back on the pedestal like it was in the Attitude Era or like in the late '80s, where I would be at school and everybody would be playing in their Monday night parties, their wrestling parties. Everybody go to certain people's houses, grab some pizza, and we'd have one TV with Nitro and one TV with Raw, and everybody just be having a great time. And I'm like, why is that not in wrestling anymore? And that's kind of how I'm taking the cards to that level. And that's just why I keep harping on that. But
well, I can tell you right now, when it comes to that aspect of having those kind of parties, maybe you might be seeing that a little bit with the AEW because there's sort of a cult following with that a little bit.
Yeah.
But not the same level as you just described for Attitude Era. But
I can say that speaking of AEW, I think that kind of those fans, they seem to be more interested in these cards.
They do. They really do. It seems to be a big buzz. I did a spot not too long ago for a television show called the Card Life TV, and talked about what such a big buzz that we see for this product like never seen before in wrestling cards, and even in the Attitude Era, you didn't hear a big buzz about this kind of stuff for trading cards. I mean, you had the Nitro stuff that came out, and Superstar stuff came out, and comic images and tops, and but there wasn't a huge buzz for it like we have for this AEW product. But to answer your question, why about maybe to have an answer to your question about that time frame, you're talking over 20 years ago. Okay, there is a lot more to offer people entertainment wise than there was 20 years ago. It's way more ways to find things to entertain myself through streaming services and YouTube and just across the internet as a whole, with 50 million channels of television to watch and still nothing to really watch. It's just there's more options.
Right.
More options. Well, more options dilute the viewership
of everything too.
Of everything.
Like sports too. Sports TV. Like no matter, you're gonna look at it that way. Like no matter what you say, it's a great point. It's diluted everything. No matter what kind of entertainment platform it is.
I mean, I don't know because I don't follow Nelson ratings like that, but I don't know if you know, or if someone who listens to this can want to comment about this, which I encourage you to comment about all of our episodes. Is our numbers down, viewership numbers down across the board for the NBA, for football, for even pre-COVID, just talk about just before COVID, but our numbers down?
As far as ratings go, I couldn't tell you. As far as word of mouth popularity, I mean, let me compare this to fantasy football. Like 10 years ago, you could get anybody into a fantasy football league, any work leagues, pick 'em, pools, all these things. Everybody watched football. Monday Night Football was a thing. Like Thursday Night Football, they started having Saturday games. Like the football was huge, especially with fantasy. And then now, like I have a hard time filling my fantasy leagues because what you just said, there's so much going on, whether it's in other forms of entertainment, people's personal lives, people's work lives. They just got so much going on, which is another reason why maybe wrestling isn't as huge as it. Like maybe all the wrestling fans are having to work 2 or 3 jobs or have family obligations or these other things that are just taking precedence. So that is, it affects everything. It's something I did not think about as kind of the world we live in now, where everything is diluted. But I guess it ties into a little bit of the overall popularity. Wrestling cards versus everything else. And I say everything else because hobby talking heads want to put, I mentioned Star Wars, and they want to talk about F1, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! Like it seems like they'll talk about all this stuff, but not so much wrestling. I don't even hear like boxing talked about very much. I know that's not, but it's a legitimate sport, but they'll even talk about
again,
UFC.
Another globally accepted and a globally admired and viewed sport.
and it's a sport that and you say globally, like it's two guys duking it out.
Well,
Like,
it's like the oldest form of entertainment there is out there.
yes. Which is why I don't understand why wrestling isn't huge, character based, story driven, combat. Like, sure, it might be staged, but so is Die Hard, and look how many people like that. So, but
I got you on that one. Yeah.
what do you think about, just like from the cardboard perspective and the hobby, why wrestling just as a genre hasn't gotten to that same level yet?
I wish I had an answer for it, man, because then I'd solve it. I mean, I would just go ahead and start taking it around on tour and injecting everybody with it. But it's just I don't get it. I don't understand it. It has the fan base. It should be appealing to those. And again, things are going to change when Panini gets involved in this too as well, because we're going to bring a lot more eyeballs on the product. And I think there's more eyeballs now than ever before, obviously, and especially now the Panini announcement. And I'm sure these guys who are smart at it are kind of already prospecting, like, okay, I get this wrestling thing now. I should check into this, some of the older stuff, maybe. I don't know.
Social media, which we'll get into that in a community section. But like, people on social media seem to not be afraid to show off, hey, I'm a wrestling fan, or hey, I like wrestling cards, figures, like whatever it is. Seems like the wrestling fans are completely open to talking about the collections. It's just,
well, when you're on social media, complete anonymity. So but I don't know, but you see these people in live events too, and they're very, very fanatical and rabid about stuff like that. Everybody's some sort of a level of a mark, or a smart mark they want to be, I guess, and so they think they know everything. And so I don't know why it doesn't translate to cardboard. I really don't. It is going to be something different come, end of March, beginning of April, May.
Maybe even like later this week. I mean, this AEW stuff, it's at the time of recording, me and you have both seen a couple of cards that have been already pulled. That's been social media. What happens if all of this buzz doesn't translate? That's possible.
And I'm a little nervous about that myself, to be honest with you, because I saw somebody posted their first breakup on Facebook, and I grabbed that image and put it on Twitter, and people started immediately commenting on that. And it seemed to be a 50-50 split. This looks like crap, or I can't wait to get some.
Yeah. And like, I expected to see a lot more breaking opportunities on eBay.
Yeah.
Like, whether you agree with that or not, I expected to see a lot more breaking opportunities on breaking platforms. Not seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Not seeing a lot of people putting up like any other product. You can go on eBay and it'll be like, they're selling hobby boxes for double the price, and they don't actually have them in hand yet.
Yeah.
The people will buy them. Not seeing that.
Yeah. I'm not seeing any, like I said, box breaks too. You go down that road here you don't see a lot of box breaks from major reputable people out there who do breaks on the regular, which focus on other sports. They don't really do wrestling. And I recently interviewed a guy, Steve Rose from Steel City, and talked about that. And basically, it's just about because there's just not a lot of interest in it from them. They don't get it. They don't care. It's not a high end. Like they broke open. They did a transcendent box break.
Mm-hmm.
That's high end money making type of some money makers right there. They will do it undisputed possibly. But nothing else. They're not going to do a flagship. They're not going to do a chrome. They're not doing finest.
That's what we're here for. We're here to break cards. Guys, we've been putting this out on Twitter. We're going to have AEW by the time you're hearing this, we already have them. Most likely. We've got Tony. What all? I know you got chrome. You got flagship. I've got
behind my. I've got some flagship. I got some chrome. I got some heritage. Yeah, you're right. I got that. I even got a box of Impel somewhere. I'm going to probably do because I had to fill another box. And then, as things come in, I mean, I think that's going to be something for 2022. I think that, either we're going to do it jointly, you and I together, or individually. Somehow we're going to be doing some box breaks out there. I want to get more people involved in doing some box breaks for wrestling. I know there's like other stuff, the Card Foundation guys, Papa Bear out there did a lot of stuff on Instagram. He burns through a lot of great stuff up there, which is awesome. And then there's other guys doing stuff on Whatnot. Whatnot's a big thing, and I'm told that's like I haven't even watched any really, but I'm told it's like a crazy, like quick fix junkie. Like
yes,
you could lose your shirt real quick by bidding on stuff so fast. I mean, I don't have that wheel and dealing type of thing. I mean, I can't do that. So
Well, before we go on to the next segment of the show, piggybacking on your box breaks, that's why I wanted to mention it.
sure.
If you guys are listening to this or watching this, if you want us to break boxes, if you want to be part of this, that money will help not only pay for the box, but it continues to help support our content. You know, we're always talking about supporting if you guys are enjoying the show. That is not only something that would support us, but it would give you an opportunity to have some fun with us with a live stream box break. And we're going to get you the cards. We're even throwing around some ideas about, you know, potentially offering a buyback. So if you don't like the cards you get in the break, we could pay you a little bit of your money back. You get like a partial refund. And then we're also going to do like bounties. So like we have it set up for the AEW box where it's going to be so hard to pull an auto, so hard that we're putting a bounty on it. And if you pull it, then you get your choice of one of the slabbed SGC wrestling cards, as well as some autographed 8x10s. So
Yep.
if you guys want to do that, let us know in the comments, reach out to us on social media. Links in the show notes to all of our social media accounts. Hey, while you're there, please subscribe to this, whichever platform you're listening to this on. But if you want to do box breaks, we are here for it. Whatever you guys want to break, we will go out of our way to get. But as always, as we've said, starting off this new year, the support has got to be there or we cannot do these things. So anything on that before we move on to the next topic?
No, I think I'd say you covered all that. It's like that, but I like that we're going to be giving a little extra, you know, and I like
Yep.
the ideas that you and I have been talking about, you know, off air about doing some a buyback type of program, things like that, which will, you know, we'll have more details for that coming up soon, I hope. And then yeah, I just you know, add a little something to it. You know, I've got a bunch of stuff. I have no bunch of signed 8x10s from over the years. I don't mind throwing that stuff in to really entice things, make it a little bit different than other people doing stuff. So yeah, more information coming.
All right, next topic. And this is kind of where I think wrestling cards fall flat. And that is the types of cards, the originality and the variety within the cards. Okay, so let's look at sports. You've got most of these cards out now. You got a rookie card badge. So that eliminates a huge, like if it's, these are usually true rookie cards. There might be different types of them. You know, like if you have, you know, player X, they have a rookie card in 2022. Well, they may technically have like 20 rookie cards, not even counting parallels. But the fact is, it's all from the same year and it's all got the badge. As opposed to in wrestling, where you've got AJ Styles getting his first rookie card logo on a product, like, you know, 10, 15 years after he's already had a card.
Yep.
So, and then I think wrestling, I look at some of these cards, fully loaded, undisputed, especially the newer ones, transcendent. They're cool designs, but they're just, I don't know. They just don't do it for me. Like some of the ridiculous sports card designs I've seen, like these, like the color blasts that are out there.
Well, that's going to change with it's going to change with Panini though, for WWE stuff. That's going to change, is it not?
Well, we hope. The biggest thing for me that I would love to see in wrestling, and this has been talked about by numerous people, is rookie patch auto type things. You know, really cool relics, which, I mean, come on, what have we gotten? Basically matte relics for the most part, you know, forever.
I mean generally speaking, yeah. I mean, fully loaded kind of upped the game a little bit. So like
well,
that,
and the Fleer stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you go back. I'm just kind of talking more modern stuff. Yeah.
So
it's just ring mats and T-shirts.
I think that's really where the sports card world has an advantage over wrestling, in my opinion. Again, just my opinion, but that's what I would like to see in wrestling cards, is just kind of a more innovative designs. And I know they're not terrible, but what do you think? Am I just completely like too off left field on that?
Maybe a little bit too left field, I think. And seriously, I mean, it's not like that wrestling hasn't tried to do some different and unique things in the past before. You want to go back to the Fleer stuff. They had milk cartons and trash cans and tables. Like, I mean, what else do you want them to do? Like skin graft?
No, not even like relics. I'm just talking like design. Like
design.
What catches your eye? Because like, you know, we may look at these cards and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. But
well, Chrome was a great design. Chrome was a great design.
Oh yeah.
First off, from top to bottom, I thought it was a great. I mean, tops going out the way they're been going out. Everything about these last few releases have been like they're hitting home runs on it. It's like they're swinging for the fences, and for the most part, they're you know, they're bringing in runs, man. And it's just beautiful stuff. Like where was all this creativity? You know, all these years like that. You know, like You start off with the chrome, which was kind of, I mean, I think
I was a
their
big
big
fan
one.
of Finest. Like
I
that
like Finest as
design was
well
really
too.
cool.
I like Finest as well. Then this Chrome 2021 Chrome. I mean, come on, the In Your House cards are beautiful die cuts. The Five Timers Club is a really beautiful design. I'm not even a big fan of the cruiserweight stuff, and that stuff is still pretty cool looking.
I stand corrected with the In Your House inserts. Those
Yeah,
that was innovative. Got to
that
get,
was innovative.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
just then you did the fully loaded having like the piece of the trash can, and it's like that was kind of cool. But that's expected for that release. That was kind of what that release was all about, was to be, limited and different in that
right.
respect. But from a design standpoint, I mean, I like Heritage. I'm a big fan of that release. I love that 1990s baseball look.
Again, though, they did something to it, it's what you said. It's where was this creativity through their whole run of the license?
Yeah, I mean, granted, I think I've been reading and hearing about the seeding problems. Like, you can get a whole case like just duds of stuff and a whole case like home run stuff. So what the collation wasn't really good. But we're not talking about that. We're talking
Right.
about design. Design across the board on this stuff has been kind of pretty good. Been pretty darn good.
The more
It's
recent
like
stuff.
I hate to see the tops going now.
Now we do. Oh yeah. Whoa.
You just don't know how good you got it, man, until it's gone.
Well, it's funny you say that. I'm going to save that for our next segment or a couple segments down the road. But let's talk about market differences. I think this is the biggest disparaging factor, even more so than popularity. Because let's look at, I don't know, 52 Mantle, 86 Fleer Jordan. Pick one of your big GOAT cards that kind of rules. If you want to get really crazy, let's throw out the Honus Wagner card that's like millions, billions
Sure.
maybe. But yet here we still have Hogan cards and, quote, rookie cards or autos, whatever you want to do. And they're selling for, a couple thousand, under 10,000 usually.
Yeah.
And I think I just don't know what the disparage there is.
Well, I mean, you're high. Let's go ahead and do that. So you're high in on all the other sports are in the millions.
Sure.
As far as like all your major cards from each genre, baseball, basketball, football, whatever side. When you come to wrestling, your home run guy is Hogan, and that's your number one and your top selling card is a $44,000, $45,000, $46,000 card. Not even six figures, which
Yeah.
I know that we've done an episode talking about.
We have.
Yeah. And it's just I've always said this about wrestling and why maybe people don't gravitate towards collecting it or investing in it because there's not enough zeros in it yet. And that's going to change, I think. It really is. I think we're very, very close to having something become the first six-figure card. And when six figures becomes like, okay, 100,000, okay, that's house money, man. I can go out and invest that. And then I think Prism's going to open up, Panini and their Prism line is the first thing that they've slated to come out. It's going to open the doors and have a lot more eyes on the product. And hopefully that will start making the new blood coming in, kind of going and saying, hey, what else in the history of wrestling cards can I go back and start investing in and maybe pump up? But we also don't have anybody. We don't have was it Jake Paul, or we don't have a Gary. We don't have a Gary V. I mean, he just posted their day. Finally, he posted their day about looking for something. I even tweeted back on that.
Me too.
It's just I saw your money come. It's just we don't have. We have the David Pecks of the world and the Rob Englands of the world who've been, waving the wrestling flag for a long time. But these guys are not the influencers that we're looking for in the sense of like a name person out there that will go and buy a David Peck card or buy a Rob England card and make this a big purchase that becomes like, hey, look at such and such, celebrity A or celebrity B went and bought this wrestling cards like that. Maybe I should look at that. We don't have that focus on our genre yet.
Which is weird because we have those people that are like promoting
so many pop culture who love wrestling.
Yes, and they promote it that way, but yet they don't do the cards that way, even though they will cards for other sports. It's very, very strange.
I want to make little custom earrings that have like the Rock rookie card on it, whatever the hell that is, and put on little earrings and send it off to like, Jennifer Aniston or something like that, or have her wear it, or maybe have like a, something like or have like a nose ring with like a little like a WWE belt on it. It's like that. It says, 98 superstars. Or
That'd
like,
be awesome.
and
Yeah.
just have something like that, and then have give it to like Rihanna or something like that. I don't know, and just have them become like the flag bearer of the pop culture worlds like that, of like wrestling cards. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Somebody out there of some sort of net worth is going to go out there and make a purchase that is going to be like, holy cow, wrestling has got some money in it.
Speaking of that, and then going back a little bit, and we were talking about the designs, let's tie in the most recent news of how we were super excited that Panini was getting the WWE license. Oh, we're going to get Prism. We're going to get all of these releases. And then all of a sudden, Fanatics now has Tops. So we're kind of back to where we started as far as like Panini's only mainly going to have wrestling and like NASCAR and soccer. It's almost like they just reversed roles with Tops. It's very interesting.
Kinda,
So
yeah.
where do you think, in your opinion, where does this tie in with the market and creative designs and popularity?
Well, you know more about Panini products than I ever would. So I've never really, outside of occasionally seeing something over the years of Panini sticker wise, or something old school like 95 Panini cards, for wrestling. I'm not familiar with their flagship, all their lines, just like that. That's right up an Adam Gilman type of, conversation, I guess. But it sounds like they have a big reach. They have a global reach, do they not?
Yeah. And let me stop for 1 second. If you guys want more information on this, make sure to go check out the WTC YouTube channel or follow on Spotify. Tony and Adam did a huge discussion on this the day that the news broke, and it's some of the most like great content breaking down the effects of what this, Fanatics and Tops and what it does for wrestling cards. So if you want more information on that, make sure to check out the WTC YouTube channel or the podcast and check that out. Go ahead. I had to get the quick plug in there.
Thanks, I appreciate it, man. It just Panini has a pretty big market, so I don't see that really being a problem. I mean, obviously, yes, they basically flip flop now. So people are going to be happy because they're still going to get Tops Chrome. They're still going to get all those things are still going to happen for baseball, for the foreseeable future. But Panini's not chump change. They're a big company, so they are also integrated with tech. So they're going to be putting a lot of things out there. They're going to be different and innovative, hopefully, with it comes to the WWE license that we've not seen before. It has a lot of potential. I don't see it being a bad thing. I think this first release is going to be crucial to see how it gets received by the community. Box prices are going to be high. We all know it's going to be high. Anybody, fooling themselves thinking it's going to be like some sort of, $100, $150 box is just fooling themselves. We've already had examples. We've had the UFC license like that, somewhat comparable. So we know how that went for the flagship one. But I don't seem to be a problem. I'm not bothered by it. I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I don't.
I'm really interested to see what happens. I have a little bit more, I'm not going to say trepidation, but more interest, I guess, to see, like, instead of like, all right, we're getting Prism, more like, well, this is going to be interesting.
That's where I'm at that point. I'm like, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, because there's a couple different things I see. Is this going to be one of those things where kind of how I thought it was going to be, where all of the flippers that are the Prism boys, they come out there and they're, flipping the boxes and clearing out the hobby stores and retail and going on eBay, and the singles are just going nuts because Prism always sells really well. And then I'm like, okay, well, like that was my initial thought. But since this whole thing has happened, I've actually seen more people in the, again, sports world more excited for Tops to be bringing back Tops Chrome, Tops Finest, and all of these things. And I've heard many people now saying that within sports, Panini cards will be taking a huge hit. I mean, they said the same thing about Tops or Upper Deck cards when all of that switched from there to Panini. Yeah. So that didn't necessarily hold true. To some extent it did, depending on the card. So that was just a quick observation I had. And then the other thing, you're talking about tech. One thing that I'm kind of excited about is it seems like once everybody got on board with the Top Slam, the mobile app, once everybody started collecting digitally, they were kind of upset that it went away.
Yeah.
Panini has blockchain digital trading cards. So what could be exciting is if they really go hard on that and get all of those people that used to be on that Topps app to be back on a platform doing digital NFT trading cards.
Sure.
That's something that I did not expect the wrestling community to react really well to, and to my surprise, it seems like people loved it.
They did. They really did. I'm one of those guys too. I was so against, getting involved in digital type stuff when it came to the cards. Like I couldn't wrap my head around it. But I got hooked on it and I enjoyed it just from just using it from the free standpoint, not spending any money on it, just opening up stuff and kind of fulfilling that itch to open something and kind
Yeah,
of, that was fun. And so to see it go away that's kind of part of my daily thing now. Like I sit around, like I just open up, oh, I got 5,000 more coins. I'm gonna open another pack, kind of thing. And so it's been fun. But I'm interested in seeing what Panini does with it. So now that's not to say that Fanatics is not going to do the same thing. Trust me,
sure.
Fanatics is
Yeah,
going to have. They made it very clear that they want to involve and take things into a digital type aspect as well and capitalize in that market. And Topps has already got a very well done and infrastructure when it comes to that. So it's not a matter of like reinventing the wheel. Now it's like, how can
no,
we improve this wheel now over here? So it's going to be a nice 1-2 punch when it comes to both sides. But again, it's something that Topps is making that I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in collecting baseball.
yeah,
It doesn't thrill me. We're here to talk about wrestling. So I want to see Panini really do something well with the digital aspect of WWE license, and I think they will. I have to hold hope that they will. I mean, why else would you go and pick that up if you have no plans to do anything with it? But you spend a lot of money on this license. You're going to do something
yeah.
with it.
One thing I actually just thought about as you were saying that, um, I don't. This is a big hypothetical. Are you familiar with the? It's a WWE card game, and it's been out for years. I cannot remember the name of it. Supercard.
Superstars.
Supercard. That's it.
Supercard. Yes.
That I've played it. It's fun. It has a collecting element. It has a level up your cards element that's kind of fun. And that game has been out for years now. It's had the WWE license. Whoever's making it they've never changed the core gameplay, and people spend real money on it. They buy packs. It's a big thing. What if Panini was able to almost take what the Topps Slam app did, use the NFT technology, and really get people really wrapped up in this like they have Supercard? Like that could be a golden ticket right there if they could do it right.
Are you also suggesting and comparing it to maybe like doing an upper deck e-pack where I can buy something and then have it printed?
That's another
That
option.
is a huge selling point for
Yes.
collectors out there. If
Yeah.
I was able to spend money in an app where I can just say, you know what, I'm happy having them digitally, but I want to get X, Y, and Z printed, I can have that service done for a fee.
Yep.
That's a money-making opportunity. But the issue here with that when it came to Topps, that you're talking about two completely separate entities. You had the actual printing side of Topps business, and you had the digital aspect of that, who they rarely talk to each other about anything at all other than, doing names and things like that. So they were two separate entities. One did not work with the other, basically, which I always thought was a missed opportunity. And if Upper Deck does something like that, where I can order a digital Daniel Bryan card or a Brian Dan, whatever, I can't remember the guy's names anymore, CM Punk card, whatever, and then have it printed for me and have it shipped to me, that's awesome. Like that becomes an appealing thing to me as a collector. And I think Panini is in a position to do something like that.
Another thing, speaking of the e-packs, I think the wrestling card community reacted pretty well. I know I saw some people, maybe they needed help learning how to do it, but once I got started, they're very accepting of the new way of doing things once they
and
got
the numbers
started.
back it up and don't lie,
Yes.
because that CM Punk card is the #1 best-selling living set, online print to order on demand type of card.
Yeah.
For wrestling.
Yeah. So, what maybe on the surface may not seem so great. There's a lot of opportunities if Panini can do it right. So very interesting to see what happens, but also optimistic.
Yes, but all that also has to play on one of our bullet points that we had for this discussion, which was about marketing.
Yes,
and I think that the AEW brand with Upper Deck and AEW as a company has been so smart with the way they've been doing all of their branding for all of their collectibles. I mean, just looking from a collectible standpoint, they're always advertising different things. And I don't even watch the show. I just hear about it and I see little snippets of like, so cool to see that the cards have been advertised on their show. So so cool to see action figures are being advertised in the show. They want to build a community of collectors out there, because if I've got someone who's collecting the product, it means I'm watching the product.
Right.
And I think it's amazing that they're doing that. And I hope that someday down the road, I just don't see it happening. Maybe I think that's what they're doing. Today, when I'm recording this, we have more layoffs today with WWE. So maybe they're like really priming themselves to really get themselves sold. And I'm almost at the point now where like, I'm kind of like, yeah, sell it, man. Sell to somebody who's going to actually market you guys a little bit more, as far as like, you know, I'm being, you know, a little picky and choosy. It's like that, you know, about me, because I want it from a collector standpoint. But I'd love to see some advertisements being done and more marketing done towards the collectible side of the hobby, because there's millions and millions of dollars in revenue that could be there from. I mean, clearly, I mean, the t-shirts alone, and they know about merchandise. I don't understand why trading cards are like the redhead stepchild of the collectible world. I really don't. So.
Well, let's circle back to an even more positive aspect that wrestling cards has: sports cards blown out of the water. That's the participants and the community within it.
Yes.
With sports cards, it seems like everybody's always trying to outdo each other. It seems like everybody's trying to tell you that's not a good investment. This is a good investment. You're a scammer. That's a scam. You shouldn't invest in this. Buy this instead. You know, the list could go on and on. But with wrestling, yeah, you have that sometimes. But for the most part, the networking has been just ridiculous. Like, there's cards that I've gotten from people that I've only met through, you know, putting out content or being on social media. I would have never had those opportunities. And I think that's a huge thing. And even like, we've had guests on, I've had, you know, you've had them on your show, I've had them on my show separately, that they talk about the wrestling card community is what keeps them going. That is wrestling cards, is the community. Yep. And I think that's one thing that if, you know, people would just kind of jump on the train with us, so to speak, like, we're so much, not in an arrogant way, it's just the facts of the facts. The wrestling card community is better than the sports card community. I would put it kind of in line with Pokemon. Once again, I keep comparing that. Like, the Pokemon fans are so fanatical about their specific Pokemon and their product that I think that really is kind of in line with what we do with wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not overly familiar with the Pokemon world, so I'll just take your word for that. But it sounds about right. Yeah, I mean, you get connected to a particular star or superstar, it's like that. You know, it's just the same thing, but they're all characters. But I can't say nothing but a good thing for that. Yeah.
I guess if I got to pick one negative, and is it really even a negative? Maybe. Wrestling community, wrestling card collectors, most of us, I say us because we're in it, but a lot of these Grail cards, the differences with wrestling and sports cards is, you know, you might see somebody flexing a 1-of-1 auto of some, you know, could be a $500,000 card, let's just say, and it's not the Chris Jericho. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. So somebody's flexing this card, say, and the next day they sell it for a profit. That really doesn't happen in wrestling, which, you know, on one hand, you're like, well, that's not great because, you know, it doesn't give people an opportunity to get the cards. It doesn't keep the market moving. It doesn't expand the hobby. But on the other hand, it's like, well, people want the cards because they're not concerned about financials, and I need to make my 20% on this, or it's just not something I want to own. So I think there can be a really good medium, but again, that's just a difference between wrestling and sports cards. Have you also seen that, or am I?
Yeah, in wrestling, it seems like there's more of a personal attachment to whatever it is they're collecting. It's like that. Something about whatever it is they're holding on to and not willing to let go is because it speaks something to them. It reminds them of a particular time of when they were a super fan. It reminds them, like, I love this card because I remember that match, man. That's when, you know, when Hogan slammed Andre, or, you know, I love this card because, you know, I love that just when, you know, Roman Reigns did X or something. So it just seems like there's more of a story behind card collecting in wrestling than any other genre, and people become attached. And the print runs, which, are way less than any other sport. So there's
Right.
less of it out there. And so when people actually have that connection and they have the card, they're less likely to let it go. So it's just, we're going to see less and less of certain things. And it's good for the value, obviously, but it's only if someone's willing to sell. But
Actually, that brings up a good point. Let me get your opinion on this. So hypothetically, wrestling card, somebody gets a wrestling card, goes into the collection, there's less of it printed. They're not flipping it. It's their PC item. It may stay with them forever. It may stay with them for 5 years and they need to move it, whatever. Do you think that inherently makes wrestling cards more valuable because of the style of wrestling card collectors and because of the lower print run, even if it's not a big dollar card? So hypothetically, do you think a $1 wrestling card now, that say it's a matte relic, because you can actually get those for like $1, something like that, it goes into someone's collection because they're a super collector of that superstar. Compare that to, say some modern rookie in basketball that comes out that's also a card that's $1, but maybe that guy doesn't make the team and you never see anything from him again. So in my opinion, that inherently makes the wrestling cards worth, I'm not gonna say worth more, but more valuable long term.
Sure, I agree. I mean, you have a lot of variables in there anyways, because you have print run, numbers, then you have what's available in the market because everybody's holding on to it.
Yeah.
So it's supply and demand issues like that. I mean, you have your personal collection that you're piecing, Cross, and I'm piecing Loomis like that. These guys could fall away and never become anything like that. And we don't care because, we're enjoying the collecting at that level of talent right there. And it just sits in our collection for whatever reason, we want to keep it. But, I don't think it's, going to hurt anything at all. I mean, I really don't. It's all good, man. It really is. I mean, wrestling's such a weird thing. We're never going to solve it all in one night. We're just not going to.
Weird. That's a great way to put it. All right, let's close out with my last little note that I think we should compare, and that's content creators. This is a little bit of a call for action, but also a comparing. You were talking about how we need the one mainstream person to go out and buy that card or to talk about that card. I think we need more content creators, and the reason I say that is because from what I've seen in the sports card world or Pokemon or Magic or whatever you want to say, like once someone starts, generally the next person starts, and then the next person starts. The more people that are talking about it, the bigger collector base and community that builds. So that's one thing that I think sports cards have blown wrestling way out of the water is like there's so many content creators out, and I wouldn't say it's like what it hasn't watered down anything because there are different content creators that are doing different things. If you want a quick example of this, I mean, look at what we do compared to Card Foundation. Like they do more news and notes. They do more modern stuff as opposed to we look at, I mean, come on, we were talking about eFeds one day. We're talking about Fleer products, which people really liked. We do the round table. We just do different things. So what I'm saying is that the sports card world, they've got the news and notes sections. They've got people who just do vintage baseball. They've got guys who just talk about finance and flipping and building. Then they have guys that just talk about set building. I mean, so that's what we need in wrestling. I just think if we could get more content creators out there doing whatever that is, whether it's blog, video, podcast, whatever it is, pick a lane, pick something. If you're listening to this, what is it that you like in wrestling? Take that and start making some content, because the bigger we can build this community, the more fun it's going to be. And I like learning from everybody else. Like even, we've talked about this before. A lot of the sports card podcasts, I love listening to them, even if I have zero interest in whatever it is they're talking about, because I like to take that information, learn, and apply it to what I do like, wrestling cards. So what are your thoughts on that?
I got to listen to more stuff. I've never made it a habit to listen to other podcasts. The only other podcast that I listen to outside of yours is Card Foundation podcast. And I don't even listen to all of it in its entirety for every single episode. I just don't make it a habit to do so. It's just not who I am right now, I guess. And it's kind of one of my New Year's resolutions, I guess, is to take on more content. But I'd love to see more content out there when it comes to wrestling cards. We've heard of some people who are going to do some stuff. We've seen some people actually start some podcasts that just faded away after a couple episodes, and that was
Yeah.
it. And it's unfortunate, and it happens across everything. But
It could happen to this one. Who knows?
yeah, it could happen to this. This could be it, man. This could be the last one. Good night. We're out of here. Take off. I love to see more people do more things when it comes to wrestling cards. I know there's Tweet Wrestling does some cool stuff. There's again, I'm bad at this. So I don't even know that.
Caleb start Tweet Wrestling.
Caleb's doing, yeah.
Caleb's mainly focusing on indie stuff,
which is a great lane for him to be in. You know, it's
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, Caleb was like, "Hey, I like indie cards. This is the lane I'm going down. I'm just going to hit record and just go." So, you know, whatever it is, like I know there are people out there like, you know, David Peck. Why didn't he just start making a whole thing about just All Stars? Like, go for it.
I mean, he could do an ongoing series and break the entire set down card by card, like one whole episode per card, if you wanted to talk about it.
And maybe
and that episode only has to be 10 minutes.
Right. Maybe somebody listening to this is going to take that idea and run with it. Go for it.
Maybe. Who knows? I mean, your segment, you've done things. You've done a lot of things on your stuff, wrestling with cards, which I highly recommend anybody listen to. You've done a lot of things across the board of like talking market values, talking about what's got in the mail, talking about specific cards themselves. You've broken down sets to the point where you've had like, how was it, 10 episodes, whatever it was, of breaking down 95 cards. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's one of my favorite series that you've done. So yeah, because you took every single card in the set and you talked about it. Like there's nothing that anybody would not know about those cards after watching those. And it's just, I'd love to see more content along those lines of like just saying, you know what, I love, you know,
stories behind the cards.
Yeah, I mean, I miss him. You know, Chef Carl. I mean, I didn't know him very well, obviously, other than from the episodes we've had him on. But you know, he had a great idea to talk about the history of wrestling, tie it with trading cards, and talk about it. So, which was a cool idea. You know, I wish somebody would go out there and say, you know what, I love food issued stuff. I'm gonna do an episode talking about food issued type of cards and collectibles. And don't even have to be about just cards specifically. You want to talk about action figures and wrestling, just tie cards in there and talk about the hobby in some way, shape, or form. Bring more content out there, because it's just it's all good for the hobby. I mean, it really all is, and we all learn from it, because you know, as someone who owns and runs WTC, you know, I'm still learning all kinds of things about older products from checklists. Like, I got to add that. I need to have information. I didn't know there's variants of that. Got to have it on there now, you know, and just, we're always learning. So the more we can continue to educate each other, the better.
Yep. Yeah.
Become better collectors.
How many times have we said it over and over? Education.
Yeah.
Like just over and over again.
And I think having multiple, you know, people want to put out content out there, whether it be podcasts or blogs, whatever you said, like, you know, it can't do anything but help the hobby, good, bad, or indifferent. Whether it's if it's bad information, trust me, people are going to correct you on it. It's like that, you know, make you a little bit, and it'll make you better for it too. But it's all about learning and educating, and you know, trying to help each other out. So, which is you know, that's what this community is really about, is helping each other out. It's Speaking amazing. I've never been a player collector, like, you know, talking about times before, and here I am being a Loomis and an Angle collector. People I've never even met in my life are like, "Hey, you'll appreciate this. I'm sending it your way." What are you talking about, man?
I've had that happen too with my killer / carrying cross stuff. Yeah. Speaking of helping community, if you guys are listening to this though, reach out to us. One of us, both of us, whatever we can do to help you get started. We might not have the answers you need, but we can maybe steer you in the direction you need to go, or give you some advice, whatever it is to get you started. If you're listening to this and you're considering putting out any kind of wrestling card content, hit us up on social media. We'll close the show out. Tony, let everybody know where they can find you if they have any questions.
WrestlingTradingCards.com. We are celebrating, and I'm going to be plugging it all year long. Trust me, buddy.
Might as well.
This is the 20th anniversary this year of WTC.
Woo!
As WTC. A little bit older when you start adding Com Collect into the mix, but we're not going to count that right now. Poor Com Collect. But yeah, it's the 20th anniversary this year. Do have some plans for some things this year. Hope to get them all done. So much work to do, but everything can be found on WrestlingTradingCards.com.
And if you want to reach me, it's at Zhan Morning on Twitter and Instagram, and pretty much everywhere else. Wrestling with Cards on YouTube, Wrestling with Cards, the podcast. Again, DMs are open. Send us those direct messages. If you need help, you have questions, whatever it is, show your support. Tony's got donation links. He's got stuff for sale on WTC. I've got Patreon, I've got my eBay store, links in the show notes to all that stuff. Again, we've got to have your guys' support to continue doing these shows. But for all of those who do support, who do listen, subscribe, and tell a friend, we greatly appreciate the time that you take out of your day to just listen to us talk about wrestling cardboard. And today's episode, hopefully we've helped you kind of compare and contrast differences between sports cards, wrestling cards, similarities, things that are different, things that can be kind of look forward to in the future. You got any last words you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Nah, man, just keep plugging away, guys. Keep collecting, keep having fun.
Yeah, keep having fun. I mean, that's why we're all doing it. Because if you're not having fun, what's the point?
What's the point?
Thank you guys for listening. Again, subscribe, tell a friend about the show. We greatly appreciate your time. Until next week, we were here another week. Until next week. See ya.
See ya.